Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, we are discussing all things Greyhound and Pet World Juvenile Classic, as well as many other events. It was a hugely busy weekend in Irish Greyhound racing. We're not even getting to Shelburne Park. That just sums it up. We're going to get to about 5 or 6 different tracks. And as always, I'm joined by the exiled dub, Tommy Lyons, and I'm joined by his coffee buddy, the Drakester, Barry Drake, down from his Youghal base. His head is blocking out his beautiful picture of Youghal. I think it's still there on the door. Am I right? It is. There you see it, Youghal track looking absolutely resplendent in that picture. Gentlemen, a very busy weekend. Barry, lots to look forward to from start to finish.
Yeah, it sure was. Look, it was a very busy weekend, covering plenty of top-class racing all around the country. I was in attendance in Curraheen Park on Saturday, and I have to say that card was very inviting there on Saturday night. I couldn't miss that, obviously, with the Apex Global Resources Limited Cork Oaks getting underway, and, of course, that cracking finale as well that featured Park Blake and the other Kobe. Yeah, so, look, it was a busy weekend, but I have to say it was very enjoyable.
Straight in, Tommy. Straight in with the Cork plug. Huh? He's consistent, if nothing else. Tommy, you had a busy weekend too, I'm sure. With Cheltenham around the corner. That looks like it could be in the Cotswolds. Where exactly are you right now?
I'm in a village called Hamptons, which is about 12 miles from Cheltenham Racecourse. And all I can tell you is, from the time I arrived yesterday, I was on the boat early yesterday morning. From the time I arrived yesterday, it just rained and rained and rained. So
do you think
I can't imagine the ground's going to dry up an awful lot.
Yeah. That'll suit a few of our horses. Don't worry about that. Let's get into it, gentlemen, because it was a very, very busy weekend. A lot to cover. The Greyhound and Pet World Juvenile Classic, Tommy. Its importance in the calendar we've spoken about considerably over the last few weeks. I think this will turn out to be a great race. I think the winner, Ballymacmarino, you've been very sweet on him from the start and fully justified. 28.09 in the decider. This was an imperious display from a hugely exciting young tracker.
Yeah, he what he did on Saturday night was he added a little bit of early pace. I think, even though I don't know that the sectionals are 3:11 compared to 3:13, 3:14, the previous two runs, it's only a slight improvement, but it was enough because he did a couple of things I liked. Yes, he very slightly hung up on the first bend, but he had a really top class, potential star, Teresa Mendoza, following around. She tracked the first bends beautifully. But again, like he did in the early rounds, and what caught my eye, particularly was the first round, Ballymacmarino, from the last bend home, he's just a joy to watch. He strides out, he runs a beautiful line, and he strides out so well. I mean, even though the winning distance is 3.5 lengths, he had to do a 28.09 run to beat her. Yeah. That because he had to be doing it all through the race to hold her. She ran a superb race in defeat. At one stage, I thought they were going to finish a distance clear, which makes me think that maybe the third Celine Ollie is a fair stare in the making as well. I thought he actually ran a cracking race in defeat. But you've got two special pups up front. And Ballymacmarino, as I say, it was only minimal improvement in the early pace department, but it's still progress, and he's only had 4 runs.
Yeah, Barry, he's now 4 from 4. Yeah, you don't want to crown dogs this early in their career. He's yet to really meet any hardship. He overcame traffic in the opening round to score in 28.48, but since then, 28.32, 28.29, 28.09, all the evidence would suggest this fellow's going right to the very, very top.
Yeah, for sure. He really caught the eye on debut, as you said, overcoming the trouble in running there to win. And, he progressed nicely over the course of the next couple of weeks and saved his best for the feature final there on Friday night. Obviously, looking at the race prior to the feature final, he did stand out as the most obvious winner, but you still have to go and do it. And, as Tommy pointed out, broke very well. And, it was just a brilliant race, because I suppose if you were watching as a kind of a neutral, you'd say coming down into the last corner there, between the second last corner and the last corner, maybe that Teresa Mendoza was going to win. But we know how strong this Ballymacmarino is, and once he opened up into the Kingdom Straight as well, he took off once more. So he looks the real deal. He has it all. And, I'm sure there'll be big nights ahead as well when he tackles Shelburne Park, and, could be even a player for the Derby, even though it's a couple of months away. He's an unbelievable ground. Yet another one from the Ballymac Kennels, and it really was the performance of the weekend.
I think you'll be seeing plenty of green and white in the coming weeks, Tommy. I think that back straight in Limerick is crying out for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's we talked about this in the past. It's a nice stepping stone. Now the Kirby is a beautiful mix of greyhounds who've who've already been running at the top level late last year, and also the youngsters, the new greyhounds on the scene coming through. So it's a nice blend. It's a nice way to make that step. It's kind of a when you're running for 80 grand, and also have the benefit of being introduced to really top class action. In a stake like that, where you're not getting what I would say, you're not getting derby dogs, you're not getting former derby dogs of that class. It's a great way to make the next step and to have a great pot to play for. So I'd imagine he will, we know about Limerick and the Kirby, and there's the long run to the escape. You need to be a stayer, you really do. If you're going to be burning it all early and barely getting home, and then having to run to the escape for what is it, 4 or 5 nights. It takes a bit of a toll. So he looks like a strong dog that will actually excel at it. And so does the bitch Teresa Mendoza.
Yeah, she we'll get to her in a moment. She really does look a bit special. Ballymacmarino. I would suggest, Tommy, going into the Kirby here now, that this form stacks up with any we've seen before. I know there'll be dogs with probably 10 more races than him, but you'd put him up against any of them.
Oh, you definitely would, because as I said to you, like even shaving a spot or two off the early pace bar, that's important for him to be able to position himself in Limerick. But like, who's to say, that he's got 2 weeks now? Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks to the start of the Kirby, so he's got a week break, and then sometimes I think when you get a little bit of a break, when you're that young and that inexperienced, when you get a bit of a break, it gives you time to just kind of soak it all up and kind of get the benefit of the experience. Whereas if you just keep racing and racing and racing, it becomes almost automatic, and there's no thought put into it. But I think the dog, I think if you'll find it yourself. I think if you do something as well like that, if you constantly get at something, you kind of get into a rut of how you do it. But if you actually stop and think about it, or get a break from it and freshen yourself up before another run, you can just improve the way you do something. So I think Ballymacmarino is a dog that I haven't got him down now. I haven't put him down as a certain type of dog. Not brilliant starter, very strong stayer. I haven't put him down as that yet, because I think they can change and they can improve so much over a short period of time when they're that young and that inexperienced. I'd be interested to see if he does turn into a fine early pacer who can match it with the best in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, from a pedigree point of view, like his sire is Vulturi, whose last ever start was in the Shelburne Marathon final over 2 laps. He was also a Derby finalist, and yet Jamaica Joy on the dam side, like that breeding line goes all the way back to an Irish coursing, the coursing Derby winner as well is that side of the family. That'd be Pat Flanagan's breed, Jamaica Joy. Pat will always say, "I never got the good ones out of my own breed," but I'm sure he's watching on with Ballymacmarino and proud as punch that his pedigree is there. Barry, like from a race point of view, if you were to redraw it next week and see it again, I think you'd probably switch 2 and 3, Ballymacmarino and Teresa Mendoza, and it could have even been a closer race. She didn't come away as well as Ballymacmarino, who's immediately took her ground, stepped a little bit right. He's a trap 3 runner every day, every night at this moment in time, and Teresa Mendoza is certainly a trap 2, trap 1 runner, and that's where she ran through the race. Drifted off a little bit at the final bend, but that's just racing. If you were to reverse the boxes, it could have been a lot closer. And that's a compliment to Teresa Mendoza. I think Ballymacmarino may still have won, but she's far from just she ran well in second. Like, this is a hugely exciting lady.
Yeah, definitely. That's very well put there. She was sold for a large figure, I suppose, prior to the competition. She did change ownership, and it's great to see him go on and, I suppose, confirm that large purchase. And I'm sure the owners are absolutely thrilled with her. She has a massive future ahead. And as you said, if you put her inside trap 1 or trap 2 there with the Ballymac and trap number 3, it definitely would be a lot closer. It's a great old saying, draws win races. It looked you still have to go and do it, but it looked a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, 2809 wins a few too, though. You know what I mean?
It sure does, yeah. But it'll be interesting to see now when it comes to the Kirby, and you have a couple of quick starters maybe on the inside of a couple of these, and we'll see how they can get on. Because one thing I did notice about the event down in Tralee, a lot of the early pace and all the rounds seemed to come on the outside. It was same in the final with the likes of Dramana Boy and Hot Magic. They mightn't have been expected to feature that strongly in the end, but they were definitely going to be featuring early. See a couple as well that were knocked out in the previous week, Roy Hope Beach and 1 or 2 others that did show a nice early pace on a couple of occasions. They were drawn on the outside as well. But look, it was another fabulous competition, and can't wait to follow the form throughout the year ahead.
Yeah, as I said it last week, like for Greyhound and Pet World, it's just the obvious one, because this is a competition to be referenced for next year, year and a half, even. Like, we'll be talking about these dogs next year when we say former, Juvenile Classic winner. Tommy Teresa's Mendoza, clearly very, very special. I think she'll sharpen up. I don't think she'll be a bitch that'll have to come from off the pace too often. I think you'll see that when her trapping comes, she has more than enough early speed, something that Ballymarino showed in the final. He definitely sharpened up. And while the split is only a couple of spots quicker, I think from the line to the corner, he's really motoring, because Dramana Boy and Hot Magic really never made an impression on the early stakes.
No, and of course, I don't know that we expected maybe Ballymarino to move off the way he did across Teresa Mendoza. What I would be encouraged about with Teresa Mendoza was similar to the semi-final performance, where I don't know how she got. It's not quite as bad, but I'm not sure how she got through in the semi-final. But the other night, again, when she didn't break that well. Her sectional went back a little bit. Ballymarino came across her, didn't help her. But she showed a nice bit of pace and determination, and she was holding that inside line regardless. Now, she looks an out-and-out raider at the moment, but again, things will change with her with her style of racing as she gets a bit more experience. But she really hugged that rail at the first bend and drove around it. It's whether to say that she's a cast iron railer, or is it just the determination to get around it, take the shortest route around in terms of driving through? Because a couple of occasions she's had greyhounds on her outside, and she's kind of saying, well, this is my spot, where I am now is my spot, and I'm going driving through it. I love that. I loved it. Did she get checked at third bend? I'm not really sure.
It says crowded third on the, but that, like, I think
that's the most.
I would have written down maybe
third of all.
A slight check. Certainly, it wasn't because she hit the one in front, so there's no crowding as such.
There's no crowding. No,
she just was watching her stride. She took a half stride for herself. I wouldn't have said there was crowding at any stage.
That's exactly how I would say it. She was watching the dog. She was showing a bit of pace. She was. Let's just say she was inching into it rather than actually making significant progress against Ballymarino. She was inching into it. She was about a length and a head down going into the third bend. And because of that, she can't obviously drive it, because there's Ballymarino's in front of her and it's kind of taking the line a little bit. So I wouldn't say she was crowded. Definitely wasn't crowded. If she checked, it's very slightly, but I actually still think it's a terrific performance. When Ballymarino was in front of you going out of the second bend and you were closing it down slightly, slightly or otherwise, to third bend, you're showing terrific pace. And the fact that we know Teresa Mendoza is a stayer over this trip, Ballymarino is doing something pretty special to the line.
Yeah, even those last 25 strides, he probably took another 3 parts of the length off her in that short little spell of time. He really is powering home. Listen, I know I've said it. I'll say it. I've said it ad nauseum about dogs over the years. Can't wait to see more of a 550 in Shelburne Park, lads. Can't wait to see him in 550 in Shelburne Park. Teresa's Mendoza, Pat Buckley has never been shy. He sent, of course, Sing-Along Sally, who won this competition, to the Kirby Memorial. Obviously, depending on the owners and whatever Pat thinks about the lady, however she comes out of the race. But you would imagine she'll be Kirby bound, for which she'd be certainly in the top 10 or 12 in the betting. Tommy?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think she's clever enough. She's already shown a tracking ability which belies her inexperience in terms of the determination that she has. So if she gets herself into a bit of a sticky situation, I think she's able to hold her own. I think she's definitely a player, because she's going to improve significantly as well. She's quite special. 66-pound bitch. The winner is an 80-pound dog. To be doing that at this stage of his career as well, we kind of forget about that times. To be able to do what he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, he's lovely, balanced and fluent, and he just looks a natural at the game, really, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Barry, our mystery, it didn't happen for him, but you imagine he's a dog that will certainly rock up to Limerick, and the more testing nature of Limerick will certainly suit his strengths. He's very good down the back. He stays on strongly. It just didn't happen for him the other night. Didn't really get involved to the opening corner, and then there's clearly crowding at the third bend, which is very hard to see. But Saline Ollie emerged from the pack, and he ran on very strongly. Pat O'Connor's had a couple of talented stayers in the past. I don't want to label this fellow a stayer just yet, because he clearly has plenty to offer over 4 bends, but his future does look like it'll lie over further. Our mystery and Saline Ollie, the 2 strong runners in behind, and Dramana Boy, very much a project dog. You get the impression, as with Hot Magic. I think there's lots more to come from those 2.
Yeah, without a doubt. Look, you mentioned 4 there, and they all have big futures ahead. I suppose the kind of standout one in terms of the 4 for me would be Or Mystery. Caught the eye really in the earlier rounds. You know, as you said, everything went wrong in that final there on Saturday night. Found all sorts of trouble, and there'll be great days ahead. But you know, you'd love to have any one of them. You know, it was just an amazing competition over the course of the last couple of weeks, and you know, as you said, there's big things ahead for all involved there in that competition.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no doubt about it. Keep an eye on them. That's the Greyhound and Pet World Juvenile Classic for 2023. Done and dusted. A wonderful winner in the form of Ballymac Marino. Liam Dowling's third win in the last 5 years, having won it with Ballymac Bulger, who's now a top sire, and of course Ballymac Wild, who went on to be one of the true stars of the last 2 or 3 years. Ballymac Marino, I think, is certainly going to go down the same road and become a star of the future. Let's hope all goes well for him at Limerick. The Juvenile Classic, a really wonderful competition. We look forward to seeing all of those, even those that were knocked out in the earlier rounds, in the future, because I think there's a real strength and depth to this year's competition. Moving on, gentlemen, on the previous evening, Tralee, keep you guessing. We're supposed to be Friday, Saturday. We're Saturday this week. On the Friday evening, we saw the ladies performing well in the second round of the Brownstown Tango Newbridge Track Supporters Open Unraced down at Newbridge. Newbridge is often very, very cold, Tommy. The times would suggest it was very cool again, but there was some good displays. The opening heat won by Crafty Chivu. For the Divilies, of course, they're no stranger to producing good ones. Dapper Dolly again caught the eye in the feet. Nice types, they'll improve for us. Burgess Orla, we had highlighted this lady last week. Tommy, she was much better suited by an inside draw. The fact that her sister Burgess Ann was taken out of trap 2 certainly helped her as well. She stayed tight to the fence to find herself in a good position, took off down the back straight, eventually won by 5 lengths in 28.95. There's far better to come from her. Barry, you'd know plenty about the family. Obviously, is she a sister to Teresa's Mendoza? No, she's not. She's a different litter. But she's Burgess Books, Burgess Dancer. Sheila and JJ obviously responsible for her. A really talented type.
Yeah, definitely. Look, you touched on Teresa Mendoza as well. That's out of Burgess Helena, and of course, Burgess Orla is out of Burgess Bucks and Burgess Dancer. Sheila Spillane and JJ Fennelly target this competition every year. They've done really well in it. You know, they've sold a couple for large figures as well over the year. So it's an event that has been very kind to them. And you know, Burgess Orla done everything right there on at the weekend. I think it was on Friday night, you said, and you know, putting out all the stops in the closing stages. Very nice type, and I'm certain she'll improve as well going forward, as they always do from that kennel. So another nice type, and you know, they put a lot into the game, so it's great to see him getting the reward.
Yeah. Listen, you can already take 3 or 4 lengths off that for the run the other night when she finds her trapping boots, and the fact that if the track was in better condition, in terms of, I don't mean condition, I mean if the weather conditions would allow, you'd imagine she could be doing mid 28 seconds. Tommy, she looks a real nice type for Sheila and JJ.
Just really nice tracking, I thought, at the first bend, because you if you're watching it on the camera angle, I don't know how I make it the camera from Newbridge, because
it's always been very low. They're literally on the steps of the stand, you know.
Yeah, but actually, at some occasions, it kind of benefits in terms of what you can see. Like, she's getting slightly outpaced up into the first bend. Looks like she could be in for a bit of crowd, and you're thinking she's going to move off. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. She actually does it right. She actually does it really right. Yes, there was a little bit of a gap around the bends, and it was left there, but you still have to have the pace and the tracking ability to exploit it. I loved her pace down the back. That's where she opened up the gap to win the race. Just the pace down from second to third bend was incredible, and then she railed really nicely the rest of the way. She's a smashing bitch. But there were some really good performances. We're going to be moving on into Boyle Sports Coco and have a look at the runner up as well.
Ballyhemick and look. Let's get into it. Boyle Sports Coco won the opening round in 28.90 odd. Having qualified in 28.66, you wonder where she lost her time last week, because she popped out, did everything right. This week, it really was there. You know, she popped out, she dominated from start to finish. Like, this looked a red hot contest in terms of, you know, so many of these caught the eye. Lightfoot, Dawn, Sunshine Zoe, Ballyhemick and Look had been so impressive in the opening round, both in victory and defeat. But Boyle Sports Coco popped out, made every inch, and she's really powering up that home straight, Tommy. 28.60, but as I said, cold conditions, you could take a fair bit off that.
Good, and I like the fact that when she popped out, and she was so superior in terms of early pace, but she didn't dive across to the fence She kind of stays about 2 dog widths off the fence the whole way, I think, in terms of all the way around the first 2 bends. She doesn't, in other words, what I love about it is the fact that you think you could probably put her anywhere, because if she's going to pop out like that and not, sometimes when a dog sees a space, it'll dive into it, it'll dive straight across or dive out if that's what its want is. She ran what I would call a line that's just racing. She's just racing. She's not thinking I have to be on the rails, I have to be on the wide outside. She's just popping out and going after the hare is what she's doing. It was a pretty special performance, but definitely big performance from the second and the third. Third was going to track well and got chopped up, just come out of the second bend as well. And I actually thought it ran really well, running on again to the line.
Yeah, she's a half sister. She's a half sister to Dana Point, the sensational stare, and Miss Joss, of course, the Christmas Oaks winner at Shelburne Park. She caught the eye last week. She caught the eye again. Ballyhimmock, look, we'll let Barry speak about her for a moment, because obviously Ballyhimmock and Jet, Slendy Poppy, it's a breed you're more than familiar with. The Duns are getting a great twist out of their young sire, Ballyhimmock and Jet, from very limited numbers. He's after producing some really fast greyhounds already.
Yeah, she sure is, Ian, and he's been well talked about now. You see it over the last couple of weeks. A lot of people, when they're thinking about where they'll go with their bitch, he's a name that's very much in the mix for such a young dog just starting off with his stud career. But yeah, I thought it was a massive performance in the field. Obviously, look, the winner was so good, and it was easily, I suppose, the standout race in that competition. So far, 28.60 in the clock. Obviously, Ballyhimmock and Luck had come away racing the previous night, 1:28.70. But they're 2 very, very exciting bitches. And as I said, the Ballyhimmock and Jet and Slendy Poppy, very good litter. I know his sister went to Toaster. I think she won a debut in Yawn around 29.36. She posted 29.29 around Toaster. She was behind Romeo Command after that. So a very, very talented litter. And I'm sure we'll be hearing plenty more about them. The Billy and John Dunn family, they're never afraid to travel. And I know they've targeted this kind of competition and other big bitch stakes over the course of the last couple of years. They're a very important piece of the calendar, especially, if you can run well in these. You'll either be sold if you want to sell or keep for breed. But, these competitions, as I said, it's great to see them getting, so much good support, because they're so important.
We've said about the Juvenile Classic and the reach of it. Like, you look at the bitches that have come out of this in the last 4 or 5 years, and yeah, it just highlights the quality of it. And that will continue next week. Of course, 3 heats the other night, 4 to qualify. So we have 2 semi-finals this Friday night at Newbridge, not to be missed, because it's going to start getting a bit hot. Like, even 1 or 2 of the bitches that were suffered defeat, likes of Dapper Dolly, Goody Clips, and Oriental Queen, we didn't mention, Good Lily. Like, these can all step up on what they've shown thus far, and things could get a bit tight. Cork on Saturday night, Barry, you mentioned that the Cork Oaks got underway and some very big names in action. All kicked off, of course, by Derby finalist Mary's Wedding. It looked very much like a pipe opener for her. She was 4-5 at the off, and with all due respect to her rivals, you felt if she'd been fully tuned, and the word was that she was fully tuned, she'd have been 2-5, not 4-5, but she did it nicely. She got loose early and she galloped on to win by 2.5 in 28.45.
Yeah, I suppose anyone that would be looking in, they'd say that 4-5 was very generous, and it did look at a great price. So she was the star attraction for us when we were looking in as the competition as a whole prior to it getting underway on Saturday night. And we were so happy to see her make the trip to Curraheen Park, because it's an event that has produced top class ladies over the course of the last couple of years. Following on from her Derby final, and of course her big win in the Christmas Oaks there at the back end of last year. We were delighted that she got the job done, and as you pointed out there, a pipe opener. I'm sure she'll improve plenty over the course of the next couple of weeks. So I'm sure they were absolutely thrilled with that. Outcome never in doubt. And Tamara Butler's Greyhound, as you say, getting the job done there in 28.45. But a big run in the field as well by Galloping Tulip, who really stuck to her task well there in second. That's a Greyhound that had been in fine form around course and distance over the last couple of weeks. Finished second there in the recent final of the Time Greyhound Nutrition A1 Cork Cup. So good to see that form holding up as well. Yeah, but Maurice Red, looking forward to seeing her in action again on next Saturday night in Cork.
Galloping Tulip, Pat and Una Creed have had plenty of winners around Curraheen over the last year or two. A lot of early pace trackers, of course. Galloping Sydney, the one we think about certainly in recent times. Tommy, the second heat went to Burgess Rapid. Anything else on Mary's Wedding? Burgess Rapid, the next heat.
Mary's Wedding, it looks ominous for the rest of them in the competition, because you'd imagine that's a pipe opener and she'd prove plenty for it. Where she might look a tiny bit vulnerable was going into the first bend. She popped out. You think she's going to go clear into the bend. Didn't quite get that far clear. I'd imagine come next week she'll be a little bit further clear, and the same as the competition goes on. Burgess Rapid rails like a cat. Yes, Octane Corey moved off a little bit in the second heat and gave her plenty of space to the bend. It made no difference because she was in front. She doesn't give an inch away all the way around the track. So if you want to beat Burgess Rapid, there's a good chance you got to go around her. Around Burgess Rapid. That was a smashing effort, 28-68 for Sheila's man JJ Fennelly. A bit like the Duns we spoke about a few minutes ago. Always keep a select kind of bunch. Generally very talented sorts when you see them coming out of the kennel of JJ and Sheila.
Yeah, this lady looked like a superstar in her youth. Barry, she qualified in 17:38 around Youghal. There was a lot of talk about her, 29:06 in Youghal. First mark 29:06 in Youghal. And then she won on debut in 28:52 around Newbridge. That was, of course, in the Brownstown Tango stake that we just spoke about a few moments ago. But that's her career best run. She's been a bit disappointing. She's shown glimpses of promise. She has a lovely bit of early. Is she going to be a second season bitch, perhaps?
Yeah, look, it's hard to know. I suppose, in truth, she has been very disappointing. When she clocked 28:52, I think, on debut around Newbridge in that competition we were talking about earlier. So, skies were the limit after that. And as you said, 17:38 around Youghal was kind of unheard of in recent times. So, look, she has been disappointing, but probably, clearly kind of has maybe her own ideas on the game sometimes. But look, great to see her making the most of a great winning opportunity there on Saturday night. And once she drew the red jacket of trap number 1, I think there was plenty of confidence around her in the betting ring, and she obliged.
She don't get me wrong, she still has a 28:58 success in Shelburne Park. It came an A2 company, but the fact that Sheila and JJ are holding on to her, you imagine they've had plenty of opportunity to sell her, given her pedigree and whatnot. They obviously still think a lot of her, and they plan to breed her in the near future, I'd imagine.
She seems to break a bit better, I think. Well, obviously from trap 1, but in Curraheen Park she seems to break particularly well. Although she has good form. If you think about it, she was third in the heat of the Kingdom Derby, third behind Ballymacfin, after getting loads of trouble and only beating 2.5 or 3 lengths. There's top class form there. I mean, if you had her now, you really would want to breed from her, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no question about it.
But she's going to whatever happens with the pup, she's going to impart real ability to them.
Yeah. No, Sheila and JJ, plenty to look forward to in the coming years, you dare say. It's not as if they don't have a few broods there already. Moving on to the next heat, which was won by Lisgar of Lila. This lady has very quickly turned into a very talented sort. She won in 28:26 in Shelburne last August, and it sort of just came out of the blue. She had nothing like that on her card, and then she ran well behind Lynchy Boy and Karen Tuchel in open races at Shelburne Park when stepping up in grade. And this year, after suffering a big odds, she was 25-1 chance in her debut this year behind Galloping Sydney in Shelburne Park, so it was in good company, but she's improved notably since then. Again, she was beaten next time out in Cork, but 28:33 and now 28:33 the other night, Barry, 4-5. It looks like she's now back to the form she was in last year. She's a 72-pound bitch. She looks more like a dog taking them on, but I'll tell you what, she looked a very fast lady the other evening. Very impressive for the McLaughlin family syndicate. Yeah,
this was an unbelievable performance. I have to say, I didn't know too much about her since she made the trip to Curraheen Park, but I've been really, really impressed with her over the course of the last 2 weeks. And if you watch the replay of the race on Saturday night, she didn't even trap, great, to be honest with you. She was one of the slowest out of the boxes, but she showed devastating early speed to skip around in front, 28:33. I think she'll go much quicker. She's a real exciting sort, and she's one of the favourites, no doubt, for this competition. She take plenty of stopping.
Yeah, Tommy, a good winner.
Yeah, very good winner. I like Barry. I was a bit surprised that she was able to lead after not breaking, and you have 2 bitches in 1 and 2, Milridge Nadia and Bacchus Dia, who both did about low 330s, which is sharp. Like, it's not Laurel's class, but it was pretty sharp stuff. And to be able to break behind them and overtake them by the bend. Now, I would say Bacchus Dia really looked rusty in terms of she broke well, was showing pace into the bend, but kind of maybe got slightly intimidated, slightly short of her, or maybe just lack of a run for a while. The Bacchus Leah maybe didn't drive around the outside of Milridge Nadia, and that maybe gave a little bit of a chance to Lisgar of Lila. But she still had to do everything to do 28-33, having missed the kick. So
Yeah.
I think it was a huge run.
No, I think there's no question about it. Fire High Gem won the last heat away and gone for Brendan Mansell. This lady is a half sister to a former Produce Stakes winner, being Fire High breed, but just a nice winner, Barry. She's one that can play a part in the competition, although she'll need to be doing things right.
Yeah, look, it was a lovely display. She did it well, making the most of the inside draw. It did get a bit messy there on the outside. Cheeky Chloe and Milridge Dolly kind of came together. Thought it was a massive race in defeat by Milridge Dolly, another lady that has top class form in the book, but we'll take nothing away from the winner. A lovely display, but it'll certainly be keeping, maybe Milridge Dolly going forward. I think she could, play a part in proceedings at the latter end of the competition. And the Crafty Jaco, of course, has since changed ownership. That was bought by Laura Flynn down there in Killa, and they've produced a couple of nice greyhounds over the course of the last couple of years. One there that went to England there. Name escapes me at the moment. That'll come back to me, but he was sold for a large figure and he's done well in the UK. But obviously they've bought this for breeding going forward, and they're very much doing well. So I'm sure they'll be a breeding kennel to watch going forward.
Yeah, Crafty Jaco certainly has the pace to challenge any of these, but she's just a little bit hit and miss at the boxes. Actually, her sister won in Cheltenham Park on Saturday night. Absolutely the opposite. She's the most consistent starter of all time. Bitch called Hello Mom. She did the fastest time of the night in Shelburne, 28:52. I told you we weren't going to mention Shelburne, but here we are mentioning Shelburne. Milridge Dolly won the gold collar actually at the back end of the year in Shelburne Park. She's a bitch that really does hit form, and when she hits form, you can follow her. She's one of those. She'll produce her best every single night for you, Barry.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I lost you there a second. Ian, repeat that question. I'm trying to think of the dog that went to England that made a large figure.
No worries. Tommy, Milridge Dolly, a bitch that when she hits form, you can follow her blind.
Yeah, it's fine. Not only does the best of her work in the closing stages. The winner, Fire High Gem, tends to edge off and she's drawn trap one, but was kind of on her own anyway because she broke better than them and kind of dominated. But Milridge Dolly has loads and loads of pace. Thought she ran well. It's good stake. And it's just at the moment you'd be saying that Marie's wedding or Mary's wedding, whichever you like. You'd imagine that she'd taken. She just expected she'd take a nice step forward. I mean, it was a lovely reintroduction, to be honest about it.
Well, she is sub 28 in Shelburne, which would make you probably sub 28 in Cork on the right night, and that's going to be very hard to beat.
It makes it about a 27.80 in Curraheen if the night she does things right, because she's like she is a bit special. Let's be honest about it. We've seen that in the past, and I think from the other night we can garner that it's still there.
Yeah. We'll move on. One of two visits we're going to make to Mullingar. Just want to mention on Saturday night, the Kilbride Kennels Midlands Derby went to Vinegar Joe. It's an A2 competition, but it wasn't an A2 type display. Vinegar Joe went unbeaten through the competition, winning his 4 starts in fine style. First round did 31-13, so it's a 30-43. You're taking 70 off that night. He then did 30-13 estimated, 30-20 and 30-17 the other night. His splits improved through the competition. As I said, he's now won 6 in the bounce, but just seems like a dog that's really coming into form. 80 pounds weight. He's in August 20, so he is a second season greyhound, but very well bred, a son of Druby Sidney, Kilgowan Pippa. Well done to Seamus Riley, collecting a good purse for himself there, €3,200. At Waterford, the Paddy and Ciara Sharkey bookmaker and Waterford track supporters A2 final went to Tinahu Brody. Well done to them. Limerick, there was quite a few Kirby trial stakes on, gentlemen. We spoke a little bit off air. It's amazing that the trial stakes in the past, they were a bit slow to come for them, and now it's a case of the more the merrier. They're filling very handily down there, but it's a no-brainer. You get more experience around the track, you might get a free entry to the competition, and as a result, we're seeing some very fast greyhounds taking in these trial stakes, Barry.
Yeah, we sure are. Obviously, look, we've been all following the Limerick action over the course of the last couple of Saturday nights. We're all looking for the big pointers, of course, to the Kirby, and in fairness, Pat Buckley looks to be, bringing a couple of nice ones through as well, nice youngsters who I'm sure are going to play a big part in that competition. And as I said, there was some really good racing there on Saturday night, so we'll be very much counting down the days to that. Now, Story's Law obviously was one of the standout performances. I thought there was a lot to like about that. Mert Lahey, another man that's done extremely well, of course, over the course of the last couple of years. He's building a great team, and I thought that was a great performance there on Saturday night, and a bit of a surprise as well, because he was sent off at a big price at 7-1, but he looks to be coming back to maybe top form.
Yeah, indeed. Tommy, just looking through the trial stake winners, that like obviously some impressive winners, but the two that really stand out are the aforementioned Stories Law. Barry mentioned them. A good early speed, as on a Lockteen Blanco, and Boyle Sports dazzling is just a second start, beating 2 lengths in 28.39 behind Stories Law. You'd imagine the two of them will come on for the run, and Stories Law comes on for the 28.39. He's certainly going to be a player. Nice bit of early speed.
Well, I think you've got to take it too that the runner up as well. Like the winner had a bit more experience and showed a lovely bit of tracking ability and could have crossed the nose of the runner up at the first bend and driving on. Really, really, really what you want to see in your greyhound. So I love the performance in Stories Law. But if you ever want an example of inexperience and how much a race that will bring on the greyhound, have a look at the runner up and just see where he did everything wrong. Went to go inside off the last bend, then had to check back out again, having gone checked out wide down the back. Just did a lot of things wrong, and still ran a cracking race to run the winner to, what was it, a length or a length? I don't know, something close to that.
2 lengths, yeah. And when you consider everything seems to be just so easy to him last week, just looked like a dog that was razor sharp, did everything right. And again, once you're led, it's a different scenario. He'll learn more from that on Saturday night than he would have in 15 solos or 15 races like he had on debut.
That's what makes that a fabulous performance the other night. I think he's learned so much. Like, does it really matter to connections? I got beaten the other night, not a bit. They mean nothing, greyhound racing, because very few greyhounds, if any, can ever do that, because so something's going to go against you some night. I think when you're going to go from winning on debut to a Kirby, you need to get some sort of experience along the way and find out that life is a little bit tougher. I loved his attitude. Now, I take nothing away from the winner. The winners are a seriously good dog, and he's going to keep improving too. I think he's April, if I remember rightly. So I like that there are two smashing greyhounds to take out. This is a beautiful performance. I think connections will be delighted with the way it's not a huge very sectional, but the fact he was able to dominate and win so well, and I would suggest that he will improve a good bit too from that run. He had a 28-12 trial in Tralee earlier in the month, and to come back and do this first run since late December. Ben Steady has a nice bit of experience. Just looking it up now, he has 15 races, I think. Yeah, 15 races run, and he looks a powerhouse. Exactly what we talked about earlier on that you need for the Kirby. So he's a live player in it. He's my type of one. He won't lead most nights. Particularly when the competition gets very hot, he won't lead. But by God, he's already shown against top class greyhounds that he stays, and he can run down high quality kind of greyhounds.
Very hard. Going to be very hard to keep out of the frame. Like
he's the type of one that will
he'd stay 600 yards in the sleep, and he does stay 600 yards in the sleep.
Type of one that makes each way appeal, and you're kind of going, okay, I put on the bet and I'll kind of forget about it until we get to the final, and hoping that he will be there, because it might be uncomfortable viewing some ways along the line because of a lack of early pace, or not an entire lack, but he's just not going to have the real sharpness of some of them. But I think he's a dog that it'll take bad luck for him not to be involved, is what I would say.
Yeah, Barry, very impressive from Ben Steady. I also want to get to Cree Jojo, the impeccably bred Cree Jojo Lawhill Blake Coulivanny chick. What a star she was, a sister, of course, to Unlock. So clearly they're breeding. But Cree Jojo for Paul Carpenter, Owen McKenna, looks a really nice type. This is only a second race. Really franked the form of Druppies Beglin, who had impressed so much at Cork the previous week for Johnny.
Yeah, definitely, and Paul Carpenter will be no doubt dreaming maybe a big race success with this ground, of course, out of Log Hill Blake and Coulivanny chick. So bred in the purple, 28.59, great performance, and looks one that will certainly improve going forward as well, because he started off his racing career, as you said, down in Cork there when it was second to Druppies Beglin, so that looks good for him. May a puppy bright future ahead for sure.
Just remind people that entries close for the Kirby on Monday morning, and the draw will be made live on the various Greyhound Racing Ireland Facebook pages. I'd imagine the Limerick Stadium Facebook page will be showing it live, and that will be at 3:00 next Monday afternoon. I think it's safe to say we're expecting a red hot competition, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Goes without saying. And you throw the well-established ones into the mix as well as these youngsters, and yeah, it's going to be very hot. Now we're going to finish up with more classic action, because on Sunday afternoon, it was very enjoyable. Sunday afternoon, I had a bit of rugby on. I was watching a bit of football, and I had the Cesarewitch on my screen here in front of me. I wish all Sundays were like that. Some brilliant performances in the RPGTV Irish Cesarewitch, of course, only 4 heats, but as I've written a few times over the week, it was more about quality than quantity. The standout performance came from the defending champion, Magical Mary, who's bidding to give Pat Guilfoyle a 6th Cesarewitch success and a 3rd in a row. And well, if she keeps producing runs like this, at 1-3, she popped out, made every inch to win in 33-17. Curraheen Sydney running on very strongly in second spot to be beaten just 3.5 lengths, but it was the standout performance, Tommy.
Yeah, no, it was a smashing performance, because she's a really good bitch. But there were some other fabulous performances in it. She's got terrific ability. She's got terrific ability altogether. Doing things right, kind of. I think what you'd expect when there's a really long run up in the track. You expect the dogs to kind of veer a little bit right, because the hare isn't turning the bend quite soon after they come out of trap. So she kind of kept a middle to wide line. She was in a different league altogether, completely dominant. Yeah, she's a class act. We know that for quite some time. She's a player, but I tell you, I have to say,
I'm not declaring her the winner. No, Bobsleigh Dream, like, she was the slowest of the heat winners, but it was an unbelievable performance, really.
She. I don't want to say I don't want to say the phrase on, but like. What she did to good greyhounds the other night after doing everything wrong, took a step to her right out of traps, nearly stumbled, and decided that's not where
I wrote screwed out of traps, because she didn't intend on doing that. It was just sort of, I'd say she went to go and sort of found herself turning, and she came out all very awkwardly.
Oh, what she did up to the bend and then down the back and everything. Oh my God. I mean, we've seen it before. We saw it in the ledger. We've seen it numerous times. She got absolutely immense ability, and when you can do things wrong and still win races and win classic heats, I say Magical Mary, you would set your clock by in saying that she will do it right, or she'll produce her performance. Bobsleigh Dream will say if she produces a performance, she's ridiculously special, and if she doesn't, she can still get her way out of it. Whether you can give it away as the latter stages of a big competition, whether you can give away and make mistakes like that and still win, I don't know, but sometimes you just smile, you just laugh at pure raw ability, and that's what Bobsleigh Dream showed the other night.
Yeah, I think she'll love Mullingar. Just keeps her alert. You know what I mean? She's one of those.
It's a quirky track for a quirky bitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of immense ability.
Yeah, Barry, obviously, Bobsleigh Dream, Magical Mary, so impressive. Magical Mary posting 33-17, the same time she posted this time last year in the opening round of the Cesarewitch. She's mighty consistent. She's mighty strong. She was very impressive, as we said about Bobsleigh Dream. She just took off down the back straight, and the other 2 heats were won by Cushy Island. Cushy Island would have been a great lift for Morgan Crowley. I'm sure he would have loved this to win a heat of the Classic with his bitch, this Daughter of Soul. Got to the front, Hanover Phantom pushed her hard throughout. They even bumped a little bit at the 3rd bend, but she really dug in to land the spoils by a head at 11-1. I hope Morgan had a few quid on.
Yeah, look, this was, I suppose, going to be probably a great local success, because I know Morgan probably runs a lot of his dogs there in Mullingar, so great to have one in the big event. And I thought during the race that Hanover Phantom was going to get up in the closing stages, looked for all money that it would, but in fairness to the winner, it just dug deep throughout, pulled out all the stops there in the closing stages to win, as you said, at a big price there at 11-1. Peachtree East, of course, was 3rd behind Hanover Phantom. So yeah, look, it was a great way to open up the competition. You've touched on Bobsleigh Dream. who did everything wrong early. A fantastic back straight pace, and Magical Mary bouncing out in front and doing what she does so often. But I thought Killahan Sydney ran a massive race in the feet, stumbled coming out of the traps, showed massive back straight pace. And I think he's a greyhound that might be kind of under the radar a small bit and could play a part. But we'll be looking forward to next week, obviously, with I think Magical Mary's in against Bobsleigh Dream, so that'll be a big
It's a hot contest. And we'll get to the final heat because we mentioned it off earlier on. Cornetto was installed a very, very short price favourite for a bitch, having her first run over 600 yards and her first run in quite, in a little while. Jack Tavern Bella, given the fact that they do tend to sort of crowd up at the third bend, you do tend to look at the stairs in races like this. And Jack Tavern Bella, well, when she turned third, she was always going to be a major hindrance to those out front. And she duly came through to win in fine style. She's obviously a very talented there. Barry, did you avail of bigger prices about Jack Tavern Bella?
No, I didn't, to be honest. But as I said, prior to the show, I was surprised by the difference in the market. Obviously, look, Jack Tavern Bella had real strong form in the book and had good 600 form in the book as well from Shelburne at the back end of last year. Cornetto had I suppose questions to answer on his return to racing action, especially over the 600-yard trip. But Jack Tavern Bella was kind of much bigger in the exchanges, did come in for plenty of support later on, so no doubt there was a couple of happy punters after that result. And as we thought, would be finishing with a late rattle, and it done just that. And really nice type connections. We're going to have great fun with her all these staying races for the remainder of the year. And I believe they have turned down interest already from maybe people across the pond in the UK. But great days ahead for them, no doubt.
It's safe to say the Pillar Syndic be holding on to the good ones. You know what I mean? They're very good ones. Like, that's what they're in the game for. They want to hold. They want to win a derby. They want to win a classic, but they'd settle for a Cork Cullen or even a Cesarewitch, the likes of Jack Tavern Bella. Tommy, obviously it'd be better for us and for the competition if Magical Mary and Bobsleigh Dream had been separated and we got to see them meeting in the final. But they're going to meet next week in the semi-final. If the top six from the competition get through to the final, it's going to be a hell of a race.
It is. I would say about the first heat, the Hanover Phantom just kind of met the winner at the wrong time. It's hard when you beat him right at the start of the third bend, because it is a tricky bend, and kind of lost momentum and actually ran very well, which probably tells you Jack Tavern Bella did particularly well to kind of do something similar, although he got a clear run into the third bend and then made the ground on the second part of the bend, maybe the fourth bend, let's call it. Some really good performances. But Jack Tavern Bella, as we talked about, Jack Tavern Bella had been running in real top company, wasn't far behind Bobsleigh Dream over 600 yards last year in races. So probably not the biggest of surprises. It is a really good competition. I hadn't looked at the semi-finals heat, but I see it here. Bobsleigh Dream is in 2, Cornetto's in 1, Magical Mary in 3. You would say, like, could you tell me what Bobsleigh Dream will do in terms of sectional next week, and then I'll tell you what will win. Because I haven't a clue.
I'll tell you one thing: she'll go faster than she did last week. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a battle between the pair.
Well, it's a hell that like the other day, Magical Mary will likely do the same as she did the other day. She'd probably stick to a middle to slightly wider, maybe slightly wider on the run up at least, and that'll give Bobsleigh Dream plenty of time and space to find out where she wants to be in the race. It all depends on how she can master Cornetto early, or if she can master Cornetto early. Cornetto has fine form. Yes, it wasn't over 600 yards. So I think if Bobsleigh Dream masters Cornetto reasonably early, we're in for some race.
Yeah, we are in for some race, and hopefully they'll meet again in the final. That would be nice for us all to see. If I had to force you to pick a winner, Tommy, I think you're siding with Bobsleigh Dream, are you?
Yeah, I think I like it. Like, even though you're putting your money down, you try and think about a race and say the one that gets clear run is the one I should go with, the one more likely to get clear run. But I just love raw ability, and that's Bobsleigh Dream.
Yeah, Barry, if you had to pick a likely winner of the competition,
I'll go with Magical Mary.
Magical Mary. It continues, of course, at Mullingar on Sunday afternoon. Well worth tuning in, folks. Well worth tuning in. It's great to be able to see live racing from Ireland on Racing Post Greyhound Television. Something, unfortunately, we were denied at Tralee on Saturday night, but that's for another day. Gentlemen, any other business, any other news for me?
The winner.
It's a busy week. It's a busy week in Cheltenham. There will be people with Greyhound connections, of course. We'll be having runners, and we hope and we wish them all the very best of luck. Tommy, give us a winner for the week.
Let's go with Imperial Pass. He's not going to be very priced, but in the Ballymore, Jerry Colombe. The ground has come perfect for Jerry Colombe in the Brown Advisory, and at a bit of a better price. Gordon has 2 in the Martin Pipe. He has Imagine and he has Cool Survivor. I'm led to believe that the Cool Survivor, Ian, which is a great name for your family connection.
Wonderful name. I was lucky enough to do a Cheltenham preview on Saturday night, and I bored everyone with the tears telling them that we won the Oaks in 1995 with a bitch called Cool Survivor.
Yeah, and this Cool Survivor is supposed to be working extremely well. Now, obviously, it's probably one of the trickiest races, the most competitive. It's a funny race for a handicap that it seems that people targeted from the very start of the season with horses they know that might be our graded level and are trying to get in under the 145 mark to get into the Martin Pipe. But Gordon has 2 likely types in Imagine and Cool Survivor. I'm told Cool Survivor is going very well at the moment and has leading claims around about 7 or 8 to 1.
Okay. Barry, anything for the week?
I suppose just in terms of something that I pointed out earlier, it was wrecking my brain to find out I was on about Laura Flynn, who bought Crafty Bitch. The 2 greyhounds that they produced that were sold for large figures over the course of the last 2 years were the Bold Freddy and the other greyhound that was campaigning in England. I have it there in front of me, Dealish Frankie. So,
Dealish Frankie, yeah.
Yeah, just in terms of Cheltenham, I go with an outsider tomorrow. I go each way on Tenzing at about 20 to 1 there in the National Hunt Chase. So that's one that'll be carrying my couple of euros.
I hope he can stay. That'll be a slog. 3 mile 5 if the ground has come up heavy. Could we be taking on the favourite there, Guy or Demendale, given the fact that probably didn't finish out as well as he could have in the Irish Grand National? Tommy, is that the way of getting them beaten?
And I have that in my mind. Is the same. I mean, I didn't think he was absolutely powering home in the Irish National. Which is 3-5. This is 3-6. It'll be testing ground, but I just don't think it's a very good race overall. There's real lack of depth in this race. So maybe he'll win, but he definitely will not carry my money.
There you are. Now, for what it's worth, I'm going to be following Tommy Impere Pass. Was my charity bet on Saturday night, and I'll stick with that. I love him. I just think he is finishing his races like a horse that go around another time. Just seems to have a massive engine, and all the word is good. Tommy, the vibes are good.
Vibes are very good. Yeah, look at his. It's obviously a step up. He's one of the ones I actually like. This he's one of the ones that hasn't competed in Grade 1 class. So he hasn't proven himself, but he hasn't been bottomed by it either, which is a big help, particularly when it's going to be a real testing. It's going to be a test of horses this week, more so than we've seen for years. In the past 10 or 15 years, you could probably set your watch by it being good to soft on the Tuesday. Not this year.
Yeah, certainly not. Gentlemen, best of luck with Cheltenham through the week. Of course, this time next week, we will be discussing All Matters Bresbet Easter Cup, which kicks off at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. And of course, we'll touch upon the Brownstown Tango Open Bitch Unraced at Newbridge. We'll also be looking back at the semi-finals of the Irish Cesarewitch, sponsored by RPGTV. But there's loads going on, and we'll bring you back up to date. But that's it from us on this Talking Dogs on Monday. Good evening, good luck, and God bless.